This is the installation instructions for a XCM14K2 MAKO360. The first thing I'm going to do is take note of my bar position. As you see, I've wrote a B, so my perches are in the back hole. They're also turned to the front, hence the F, and the bars are straight up and down, which is the slash marking that I put on the polymers. So now, once I know where my handlebars were, and I want to put them right back where they were so the MAKO will be in the same position as stock, I'm going to remove the stock perch bolts one side at a time. You can see I'm spinning the left side off. Going to move to the right hand side of the motorcycle. I'm going to remove the top of those perches. I'm using a 10mm spin on it to get them off. You can use a ratchet if you like. The spin is faster. Now I'm going to remove the handlebars and hang them over the front number plate out of my way so I have access to the top of the perches. They'll just hang there. They're fine to hang right in front of the front number plate. Now I'm going to get the ratchet to remove the stock perches. In this case, it's a T45, which is stock on the KTMs, Husqvarna New Gas, and the Husaberg bikes. I turn the front forks all the way to the left to the lockout position to the left, so then I'm not pulling against the motorcycle. I'm actually using the motorcycle to help me hold the bike. Now I'm going to remove the perch bolts. I'm going to go ahead and remove them. You take them out. These have been removed before, so the Loctite, the factory Loctite, was not really tough on this motorcycle. I've got the new perch bolts that come in the MAKO360 kit. As you notice, I've shown you the dot on the front of the MAKO perch, and as you remember, we had the stock perches turned to the front of the motorcycle in the back hole, and our perches are the same offset as stock, so they have 6mm offset built into them. The round dot that I showed you earlier right there on the top of the perch, I've put that perch forward so the long part of the perch is to the front of the motorcycle, and I'm installing that perch bolt in the back hole. That perch has got the dot turned to the front so it matches the other side. I'm also going to apply the Loctite to that perch bolt, the blue Loctite. Wipe it down in the threads just like so. You can use liquid. I like using the paste. It's a lot cleaner than the liquid. And now I'm going to place that perch with the perch bolt in it in the corresponding back hole on the right side. And now I'm going to run them in with my hand because they thread in pretty easily. It's just a little bit faster than using the ratchet. Once I get those snug, it'll just limit the time that I'm going to be using the big wrench. Now I'm going to get my torque wrench. I'm going to put an 8mm Allen on it, and I'm going to set that torque wrench to 50 foot-pounds. I'll have the handlebars now turned all the way to the right, so I'm pulling against the motorcycle again. It'll help you with the install. And now I'm going to start torquing those perch bolts to 50 foot-pounds. Once that one is set, we go to the other side and also put 50 foot-pounds on it. If you notice, you double check that I have both of the dots on the front of the perches that are in between the threaded holes. They are both turned to the front of the motorcycle. So now we are putting the perches back in the position that they were, and the handlebars will be exactly the same position, height and front and back as they were. So I double checked my torque on both sides before I finished, and both sides are set at 50 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to pull the handlebars back over and just let them rest down in the MAKO perches. and the polymers are split, and they'll wrap right around the handlebars. So it's showing you the split right there. If you noticed on that polymer, that's how I marked the placement of the handlebars. And now I've got both of the bar polymers on. They're seated all the way down. I put the slits in the polymers to the bottom above the perch hose, but it really doesn't matter. Now I've got the top clamp. I'm placing the sharp bite polymer in the top clamp, as you can see, just like so. And now I'm going to get the top half of the sharp bite clamp. I've got the top half of the sharp bite clamp. As you'll notice, it's got a plus sign on one. I'm showing you with the finger there. The plus sign on the sharp bite clamp always goes to the front of the motorcycle. And now I'm going to seat the top half of the sharp bite clamp in the top clamp, and I've double checked and make sure that the plus sign is toward the front of the motorcycle, and I'll place the top clamp over the polymers and the handlebar, as you can see. And now I'm going to start putting the 8 bolts for the top clamp. I'm going to place all 8 bolts in that top clamp. I'm going to get my 10mm spin wrench, and I'm going to start putting a little bit of tension on those bar polymers. And when you start putting a little bit of tension on them, you don't want to get them too tight. Put a little bit of tension on them so it'll hold the handlebars steady while you work on it. I look down in the viewing holes in the top of the clamp, and I'm going to get the handlebars lined up. And once I have the handlebars in the position that they were stock and verified it, I'm going to start tightening up all 8 of those top clamp bolts. I'm going to snug every one of them. There's no sense in putting them really, really tight because you're fixing to go over them with the torque wrench. So just get all 8 of them tightened down till they seat, and you'll start feeling the bolts get a bottom. And once you feel that bottom, it's usually far enough because you're fixing to, like I said, grab that torque wrench and start tightening all those up. As you notice, we hadn't put any bolts at all in the sharp bite clamp. Those holes are open. They're going to stay open. It's one of the last steps. I'm going to get my torque wrench. I had it on 50 pounds. I'm now going to go all the way down to 12 foot-pounds. I'm going to make sure that I'm on 12 foot-pounds, and now I'm going to start tightening up and torquing the top clamp bolts. I'm going to go through every one of them. I do outside on all of them first. It doesn't matter if you want to go inside and outside or crisscross or whatever, but I'm going to start doing every single one of them on there. I'm going to put 12 foot-pounds on the thing. Make sure you don't rest on the handlebars and move them because we've already got them in the position that we want them in. And we're going to double check all of those fasteners on the top clamp, all 8 of those, and make sure we're on 12 foot-pounds. Once we've got the top clamp tight, I'm going to take the bottom half of the sharp bite clamp and place it under the handlebar, and I'm going to put those 2 bolts in the front of the sharp bite clamp right where the plus sign is. Okay, and now I'm going to start tightening those up. I'm going to get them snug with my T-handle. I've still got my torque wrench set on 12 foot-pounds, and now I'm going to tighten both bolts on the front of the sharp bite clamp. I'm going to put them on 12 foot-pounds. I'm going to check them a couple times and make sure you are on 12. And the last step we're going to do is put the back 2 bolts in the sharp bite clamp, and I'm going to snug those also. And once I've got them snug, I'm going to get my torque wrench, and I'm going to put 12 foot-pounds on the back 2 bolts of the sharp bite clamp. I work it a little bit because the other surfaces, all the other surfaces are touch. They're mating surfaces, but this back surface is where you get the pinch to hold the handlebars. So there's going to be a gap, and it takes a little bit more to get them worked down with the torque wrench. But now we've got all the bolts into the MAKO 360, and you're ready to ride, brother.